Welcome to 10 Minutes with Barb and Ron. Hi, Barb. How are you?
Hey, Ron. I'm doing okay. It's been a while.
It has been a little while, hasn't it? Well, you know what? It's worth the wait.
That's right.
It's worth the wait. And of course, OCALI's been working on a whole new look for us with, little buttons to break down, what we're discussing and stuff. So the goal for this is to see if I can strain your brain as much as Chris Bugay did mine the other day when he came to visit the Ohio UDL Collaborative for our working lunch.
Oh boy. I hope my brain is up for it, Ron.
And just so the audience knows, you don't have a clue what I'm going to say. And that's going to be the fun of this, because when he sprang it up on us, there's like 23, 22, not counting me. I was there, but I won't count myself into the, super mega smart folks that were there. And I think he blew everybody's mind with the thought, and I'm still reflecting on the things that he had to say. So I'm just going to spring it right there on you. Okay. So,
all right.
So think about this. Chris asked this question, and he actually did it. And so what he did was he went through all the IEPs in the district, and he wrote down, and I don't remember if it was the top 3 or the top 5, but the top 3 or top 5 tier 1 things that are going to be worked on with the students, or the most. When I say top, let me define that. When I say top 3 or top 5, I mean the ones that showed up the most. The items that showed up the most that students needed in their IEP. And you can put that into the correct lingo for me. So maybe you should repeat back kind of and see if your understanding's correct.
Okay, yeah, I do need to clarify.
Yes,
so
please.
he looked at the individualized education programs within his district.
Yes.
And he was looking for some common themes, I'm guessing.
Yes.
And he came up with 3 or 5. Were they common, like accommodations or services?
Accommodations.
That were in an IEP?
They were accommodations.
Accommodations.
Like maybe a student needed text to speech, or needed to work in a group setting.
Okay.
Or things like that. So he found either the top 3 or the top 5, and it doesn't matter which it is, but he found those and looked at them. And in his district, those were definitely tier 3 items that, would separate, kind of what they were doing and make sure, it was really an IEP item. So what he said was he challenged us. He said, what if we took those, and I'm going to go 3. What if we took those top 3 items, the tier 3 items that they are, and flip them to tier 1 items in the district? You've heard this before, haven't you?
No, but I'm agreeing with him. Yes.
Okay. So what does that mean to you? I mean, when you think about that, what does that say?
Yeah, well, I have always thought that we can learn a lot about what we have put in place historically for students on IEPs that really are good for all kids, right? And if you'll remember, one time we had this teaching team that we worked with, Ron, and that's how they started their UDL journey. They looked at the accommodations that were on IEPs, and they just provided them for all of the students. So I don't know if this is one, but this is one of the things that they did. Extended time. It's often one that's on IEPs a lot. And so they just said, you know what? The important goal is that kids learn. And so we understand and recognize that everybody learns at different paces. So we're going to relax our time constraints. So is that the sort of thing that he was thinking about?
That's exactly right. He said, let's make these universal supports. So like one of them, I just hit me. One of them was small groups.
Yeah.
So they decided, like the district you're talking about, we're going to make small groups universal. We're going to do it. It's good for all kids. And there's so many of our students on IEPs that need it anyway. We're just going to make it universal across the district.
Yep. Well, you know what I am proud of Ohio for is, do you remember, golly, how many years now that the accessibility manual came out for the state tests?
I do remember.
And it was about when Ohio released their Ohio Accessibility Manual, it's been several years ago now, but they put into place supports that were available to all students, universal supports, and then they kept on going, so then there are some supports that are only available to students on a plan, but small group is one of them that they made available during state testing for anybody who felt they needed it. And I thought that was a great step in the right direction, right? Just recognizing that works for many children.
Yeah. I was...
So I have a question then, because I wasn't able to be at the Lunch and Learn with Chris. How did they go about flipping those traditionally tier 3 supports into a universal support throughout the district?
Well, Barb, I knew you would probably ask me some really deep questions. I would have to go back and watch it again because we did video it. So, and that's why I wanted to get it off to you as quick as possible, because I knew when you had a chance at some point, you'd watch it. And I know you haven't had a chance yet because I just sent it, but I don't know that answer. I was still in my head just wrestling with the fact that we could take a tier 3, flip it to a tier 1, make it universal, and I knew you did, something like that several years ago, when you were at the SST. However, somehow it slipped by me until you just reminded me. I think
that's what's so wonderful about UDL is that people find their entry point at so many different places. And, so for this teaching team, they were deeply involved with students on IEPs. And that was what stuck, kind of hit them like, well, why wouldn't we just allow this for every child, And so it's really, not everybody takes it to that, but they did. So that's really cool that Chris's district is working on that.
Yeah. And the other thing that amazed me was the top ones that he mentioned, to me, didn't even seem like ones that would be on an IEP in a way. I mean, I was like, small group, that kind of mystified me. I think that was the highest one. That was the one that was most common. And I thought, well, that just makes sense to do that as a universal than a tier 3, But if they don't do small groups at all in a district, then that becomes a tier 3 pretty quick, probably. Because it is, it's a big deal, and it helps, it really helps that student. So,
let's see. So small group was one. I'm going to guess maybe extended time was another one.
I think extended time may have been another one.
Yeah. So I'm curious, were there some assistive technology tools like the text to speech, that's so available now to us to listen to our textbooks and, via audio or whatever. I'm curious if that was one of them.
Well, Chris came from the background of assistive technology, and he has a couple of his own different shows that he has and stuff. And the last couple of years, he's been doing a new one, which I believe is a podcast with a lady. And they're mostly, I think she's a speech path maybe. And it's a really cool show. It's definitely spatial ed focused and assistive technology deep. But you know what? On that list, I'm not sure that there was one that was specifically AT. I mean, I don't know that text to speech was on there.
Interesting. Yeah.
Or speech to text or, the ones that I thought would be the top ones weren't. And the ones that everybody at the collaborative thought was going to be the top ones weren't either. So, I would love to know the district where my kids go, what those would be here, in the school district that my kids are in. I mean, I just think it'd be neat to know. It'd be neat to know for I think any school principal would want to know, because boy, if you could flip that into a universal and have it for all kids.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, like how would I do that at our district, and what tools might I use to generate this list of common themes. But one of the things I do know is we do have so many students that have small group on their IEPs that when it comes time for testing, even if it's a Friday end of the week test, there's not enough proctors or spaces for the students to go to have a small group.
Wow.
And again, that's because we're trying to work within a system that was not developed for that. And so if we flip that, like Chris is saying, and we just design our people, our rooms, our structures, it wouldn't be like a last minute, oh my goodness, we need to have space for
we'd be used to
that
it.
Group. Yeah.
It'd be normal. Nobody think anything of it.
Yeah.
And that's not hard.
I know. And isn't that what UDL is all about? Like just normalizing some of the supports that all of us need at some point or another.
I agree. It's been 10 minutes, Barb, and I know it's been a while, but the 10 minutes do go quick. And I hope people can think about this and let it burn in their brain for a little bit. And I hope they ask themselves some questions as to whether or not wouldn't this be better for our staff? If we could flip some of those tier 3s to tier 1s, make them universal, and it just be the norm.
Right.
I mean, start out small, just little, just like you said, extended time even.
Yeah.
Some small group.
That's a great challenge, Ron, for everybody to think about and think about how they might take that first step.
Well,
Love that thought.
Ron's out.
And Barb's out. We'll see you next time on 10 Minutes.
YouTube, please subscribe. Like, comment, and share.